Okay, so we've gained a lot of insights about partnerships, and this is a great uh, point to welcome the team at AFIN, the ASEAN Financial Innovation Network, because Manish and Rajiv, your whole reason for being is to promote partnerships between financial institutions, fintechs, other organizations, but particularly with an agenda to help bring more people into, give them more access to the financial system. So welcome, and I'm looking forward to hearing. I'm looking forward to hearing about the Apex journey and what's happened since we talked to you last year. Because I know you already had a well-established platform, but I think you just keep growing and finding new use cases.
Thanks, John, for having us on the API Days uh, annual event. Always look forward to joining the great team here. And yes, Apex is all about partnerships and collaborations. That's the exact reason why we exist. I also have my dear friend and colleague Rajiv Madane, who is also a channel partner and one of the first people who actually started working on the Apex project way back in 2018. So, without further ado, Rajiv, you need to help me navigate the slides because mine has stopped working. Uh, Final day, technical challenges. So, Apex exists because there is a clear-cut problem, and that problem is that collaboration between financial institutions and fintechs is extremely painful and ineffective. And it is because if you see on your screens, these are some of the steps that are there in the legacy processes when a fintech and a financial institution want to come together. The FI takes a lot of time to find, to verify, to legal work, the infrastructure creation, data management with information security internally, API exposures, testing, and go live. All this, on an average, our own research tells anywhere between 8 to 12 months before a testing can take into place. And it is because of a particular reason. These reasons being the FI is rightfully concerned about the capacity of the fintech, the scalability, reliability, the tech risk management, compliance. Uh, and for a fintech, it's just not possible for every fintech to be able to sustain uh, per customer a wait time of 8 to 12 months, because this is just one customer and this needs to be repeated n number of time for n number of customers. And most of the customers, for most of the prospects for a fintech, don't actually even get to this point. They probably lose track after the verification or legal or somewhere in middle of the road. Next slide, please. And that is the reason why Apex got together a bunch of renowned names, industry leaders, uh, like our founding partners, founding members, ASEAN Bankers Association, IFC, MAS, AMTD, Mastercard, and our tech partners, Affinity, Brancas, Percipient, BCGFCT, our advisory council, which includes the like of AMTD, AWS, BNY Mellon, Mastercard, and so on. Infrastructure partners like AWS, Equinix, and plus our 25, 30 plus fintech associations have all gotten together to create what we call as Apex, which is essentially a platform where we, at the heart of the platform, is the sandbox, and we have built an ecosystem of services around this sandbox to help you do the following 5 Ds, as we call it. Next slide, please, Rajiv. These would be, and some of our partners include, the likes of HSBC, Citi, Prudential, Emirates, AIA, Goldman Sachs, Reserve Bank of India, National Payment Council of India, all of which have come to Apex, build their products, build their experiments, run huge amount of hackathon, conducting hackathons for the like of BNY Mellon, the BIS, G20 Tech Sprint with the Saudi presidency, Financial Alliance for Women, Prudential, and so on and so forth. What we what Can I go to the next slide, please, Rajiv? Yes. So Apex, like I was mentioning, is an idea to implementation framework, and I would like to spend some time on this slide here. Uh, it starts from the designing and the testing, which is essentially helping define the opportunity of the problem or the problem statement. We see a lot of financial institutions, especially in the mid to small tier, who don't really understand how to define the opportunity or the problem statement that they have on hand. Apex, through all our partnerships that you saw on the previous slides, has acquired a certain amount of conversational maturity, so to speak, to help handhold these mid and small tier institutions to actually define what they are looking for. Then comes the part which is the discovery, and this is discovery and followed by the dry run, which is perhaps one of the most uh, important reasons why institutions associate with Apex. We help financial institutions discover fintechs from across the globe, sitting right there in their office or while they're working from home, at a click of a button. Apex today proudly hosts a little short of 1,200 fintechs, which number keeps on growing on a day basis, and about 86 financial institutions. The fintech community is so expansive on Apex. We cover almost 84 countries from which these fintechs originate. These fintechs run across 50 plus categories. So literally anything under the sun that you're looking for your fintech to participate with on an experiment, most likely you'll find something on Apex. And if you don't find it on Apex, you let us know. We'll find it for you. That's a commitment. What we also allow the institutions to do is to able to test and try APIs for these fintechs using the API pass-through gateway that is on the Apex platform. So you have the profiles of the fintech, and this profile also comes in with the APIs. So all this in your office very quickly. For example, you will be able to identify 40 plus KYC service providers on Apex, or 30 plus alternate credit mechanisms, or 25 plus risk management fintechs, and so on and so forth. Then comes the part which is the dry run. Now you have identified some of these possible prospect fintech collaborations that you need to have. The next logical step is that you should be able to see what's under the hood. In the real world, just the process of discovery and getting to the point where you can see under the hood and see and try those APIs is at least 4 to 6 months of period. And in between, there's that rigor of documentation, information security clearance, legal, multiple presentation, Excel sheets, and whatnot. At Apex, you come to to the platform, you discover what you want to see, and you immediately test the APIs. It is literally 5 minutes, pretty much. Now, what happens on the dry run front? Now, Apex has created a selection of sandbox, not one, but multiple sandboxes. Today, we have 4 different types of sandboxes. One is a retail bank focused sandbox. Another is an AI ML focused sandbox. Another is a CBDC, central bank digital currencies focused sandbox. And our fourth and our newest addition is music to a lot of financial institutions, which is the Equinix dedicated sandbox. Now, Equinix, as some of you might be aware, is one of the world's largest provider of inference data centers for financial institutions. We have a strategic partnership with Equinix, and they have very gracefully allowed us to use Apex as a get through to test and run experiments on an Equinix sandbox. So what it does is that if an institution is not comfortable hosting their experiments on a public cloud or trying to do an experiment on a public cloud, they can use the Equinix sandbox, which will give them an experience of running this out of an in-prem equivalent data center. Then comes the part of decision, and this is our newest offering, and I'll dig a lot deeper into the decision part in a little while from now. This is essentially helping you identify partners who are validated by an ecosystem like fintechs and financial institutions here who are online today, to actually be able to run uh, to partner. Before you partner, the basic issue of credibility needed to be fixed, and that is what, we have launched a product called as Checkfin. This was announced during the Singapore FinTech Festival in 2021 by Mr. Ravi Menon, who is the managing director of MAS. We already have multiple uh, global financial institutions, the likes of ING, UOB, Emirates NBD, Bank of New York, uh, Prudential, who have, and few more who have partnered with us to help propagate the Checkfin program. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a short while. The fifth and the final step in the Apex implementation framework is deployment. The experiment is only as good as when it is ready to be deployed. And I think Rajiv will delve deeper into the whole piece on deployment and how we are working on that. Apex Sandbox allows FIs to create uh, a nice little code, and then we are helping institutions to actually productionize this. I think we can move to the next slide because I pretty much covered everything here, Rajiv. Can we move to the next slide, Rajiv? Next one. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into Checkfin, which is the decision part. What is Checkfin? Checkfin is a global fintech registry built on Web 3.0 principles. We have worked with a Temasek founded company called as Affinity, which specializes in virtual credentials over blockchain, and Boston Consulting Group's FinTech Control Tower. Uh, Checkfin is designed to address a very basic problem that lies in the system: time consuming process faced by fintechs and financial institutions seeking to collaborate purely from a point of trust and credibility. Now, why should a fintech be on Checkfin? Next slide, please. The fintech needs to be on Checkfin, and this is for everybody who's listening to us today. It helps you increase exposure to financial institution. The FI requires a detailed information to search, discover, and evaluate fintech. They don't just randomly hear a name somewhere and start working with you. They need to detail information to work with you. Fintechs in turn can save resources by easily creating a corporate profile on Checkfin, which covers all key data points. So there are close to about 50 plus data points that are being covered on the Checkfin profile for a fintech, which we know from our conversation with banks, and we talk to a lot of institutions, multilateral agencies, regulators. All of that knowledge has been baked into creating the Checkfin profile. This will help you move faster, get noticed from prospective customers. What it also does is that it helps you demonstrate your compliance readiness. Now, in every geography that is regulated, you will find some kind of a compliance regime that is given by the regulator to the financial institutions before they can start engaging with a prospective partner. Now, these are normally termed as tech risk management guidelines, tech risk compliance guidelines, and so on and so forth. For example, in Singapore, MAS has uh, a regiment called as the tech risk management guidelines, which are a list of close to about 300, 400, very detailed format, which a financial institution has to ensure that are complied by their prospective partner fintech or tech company. Now, what we have done is that we have what we realize is that proving this compliance and risk readiness is an extremely difficult part for a fintech. A lot of fintechs are not even aware because they've never gotten into a commercial arrangement as yet. They're very new, and that's a reality of things. What we have provided is that we have truncated this into a compliance readiness framework, built it into the Apex profile on Checkfin for a fintech, made it a readily available format. Now, any fintech, when they come to their Apex profile, whether existing or new, they can simply go and update the tech risk management self assessment checklist on the Apex platform. And whenever a financial institution is looking up your profile on the Apex platform, they would be able to seek your request to share that tech TRM compliance readiness framework with them, so that they get much more comfortable with you versus the other guy who does not have that. extremely critical. Any bank in Singapore or any other geography will need some sort of a comfort level on the TRM front before they actually start a major engagement with any fintech. You can do a POC perhaps, but beyond that, you will have to comply. Then comes the part of building the credibility and trust with FI partner. It's extremely hard for fintechs to demonstrate trust and credibility. And because the reason being very simply, a fintech is a new guy, a new person on the block. They're not too big. They may not have any live installations as yet, or they have some installation, but they have NDAs and whatnot. So what we have done is that we have created a process where fintechs can share trusted and content-driven credentials. So all that you have to do, come to your Apex profile, either create one or go to your existing profile, go and say request a credential. When you do a request a credential, you can generate 4 different types of credentials: a business reference, a grant reference, a hackathon winner reference, or an award reference. These can be shared with any partner that you have worked with, irrespective of whether they have been on Apex or not. So, any financial institution, any bank, any insurance company, any capital market company that you have worked with, you can simply write an email to them using the Apex Checkfin verifiable credential format to seek a credential. This credential request is sent out via simple email to this partner of yours to whom you have emailed it through the platform itself. They receive a simple format, a yes and no. We do not want to get into the qualitative assessment of your work with these partners. What we are simply seeking to do here is that there is a factual statement made by a partner of yours. Say, for example, you work with Bank XYZ in Cambodia, and you say that I am seeking a credential for doing a POC with you. Can you please say yes? The bank in turn receives a simple email. The manager in the bank, they simply say yes, make a factual statement that yes, you did a POC with them. It's not about how good the POC was, how bad the POC was, how much time it took, how costly it was. No, it is just a simple factual statement. Now, what happens once the person clicks on yes, is that we create the affinity team, which is the Temasek Bragg company specializing in verifiable credentials on blockchain, creates a wallet for you, for your organization on the blockchain. And Apex is able to host that token, that verifiable credential on your profile on the Apex platform. Now, next time Bank B comes in from Vietnam and comes to your profile and sees that there is a business reference credential against your name, because one more thing, keeping in mind the Web 3.0 basics, the information belongs to the fintech. The information cannot be shared with anybody, not us, not any prospect, unless the fintech agrees to share it. So you have, as a fintech, have to initiate that transaction. So when any other bank, be from Vietnam or Philippines or anywhere else, comes to your profile, they will be able to come to the profile and say, seek credential. They will request a credential from you. An email will be sent out to you, whether you will approve it or reject it, and the credential can be shared with that particular financial institution. Next slide, please. For a financial institution, extremely critical. It reduces time, effort, and energy to identify the right partners. We have a global database of 25,000 plus fintechs. 1,200 of them are already on Apex, and few more are coming in. It also, like I talked about, the assesses the fintech's compliance readiness. Extremely critical. No FI worth its salt is going to do it without this one, and it helps you evaluate the capabilities of the fintech. Can I move to the next slide, please? A verifiable credential. It's a provable authenticity, tamper-proof evidence of credentials. It's portable. It is irrespective of whether you're on Apex or not. If tomorrow you choose to go out of Apex, you can still carry your credential with you via a private key. It's private to you. Only you can share it. Only you have access to it. Unless you initiate that transaction, nobody else can access it. Not me, not the tech provider, nobody else. And it's secure because it is encrypted. There are no passwords required. It's completely tamper-proof. Something to look forward for all of you. If you're already on Apex, please go ahead and seek a credential right away with any partners that you have worked with. If you're not on Apex, I encourage you to please go join Apex. It is free to join Apex. We do not charge anything for any fintechs below Series B funding. So pretty much 98% of people from the fintech community on Apex are free. So please go ahead and join Apex. Next slide, please. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thanks, Manish. So what we are going to talk about is just in a few slides is the concept of prefabricated solutions. And just to understand what that is, a prefabricated solution is where you have all the different fintechs on Apex, origination fintech, KYC fintech, application fintech, underwriting fintech, and then processing, bookkeeping, payments, repayments, and collections. So like a digital lending prefabricated solution would compose of these fintechs, and they would be all stitched together for a solution to a financial institution. And what we are doing, along with the Apex team and my team, is we are building a proof of concept on the Apex platform, where we have got the Sandbox in the Apex platform that Manish talked about, and we have got a group of fintechs from various countries in the world. We got some from Europe, we got some from Asia, we got some from India as well, and we are creating a digital bank solution using these APIs on the Apex platform. And basically, we will have a full suite of products on this digital bank, and this is going to be available as a prefabricated solution for any bank that wants to use and go digital with the fintechs and the APIs that we have put together. Um, Once we have done this, which is our build phase, we are going to market the solution across Asia Pacific and other parts of the world. And then we are going to run this as a banking as a service for various countries based on our partners across the world. That's it from my side. Happy to, Manish and me take questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Manish and Rajiv. I guess it, your mission to connect financial institutions and fintechs, it seems you just keep getting stronger. And I think the value proposition you hold for financial institutions of being able to find fintechs to partner with, and also being able to verify that they are solid companies. They have not only a good value proposition, but they are actually partner ready, and also for fintechs, showing them what is the roadmap towards becoming partner ready. And I think that's great for organizations that are trying to find product market fit, and then to add on all the other aspects of cybersecurity, platform readiness, and things. Is helpful to have that framework, that roadmap to work to achieve that. So thanks very much for sharing.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.